It's full. Can we get one more chair out here?
Yeah, we have chairs back there. Can someone grab a chair?
I'm not sharing my microphone. This is a villain panel. Nobody shares.
Does someone mind sharing a mic?
Here, Ian, we can share a mic. It's okay if you want to come to a panel and get your mic.
Thanks for all the equality symbols on the stage, by the way. That's handy.
So nice.
How did you know?
So we're going to go down the line. We're going to have everyone introduce themselves and say what villain they voice. Start with Kelly.
I'm Kelly Sheridan, and I play reformed villain Starlight Glimmer.
I'm Kyle Rideout, and I play what I don't really think is a villain, but he comes from the villain world, Thorax.
Hi, my name's Drummond, and I play Vegeta in Dragon Ball Z. That's that guy? Oh no, that's not My Little Pony. Sorry, wrong con. I play like Filthy Rich is not particularly the nicest guy. I play Filthy Rich and Sheriff Silver Star, Double Diamond, Awizodal, who's a villain, of course, and a few of those fun guys. Seabreeze, not really a villain, but a bit of fun little breezy. No, any villains you played. And I played, outside of ponies, I play way more villains, but we can talk about that.
I'm Vincent Tong. I don't play any villains.
Ever?
Just kidding! I play Garble, I guess he's a villain. On My Little Pony. Flash Sentry. I guess he's a villain. That's it.
My name is Ian James Corlett. I'm not. I think maybe he started as maybe sort of villainous. I play Silver Shill, but he's not too dangerous. I'm probably best known for playing the original Goku in Dragon Ball Z.
Kakarot.
And Cheetor from Beast Wars. Both decidedly not villainous, but I've played many villains. You know what? I can't remember the names, but I'll do all the voices later.
All right, so I was wondering, do you guys prefer voicing good guys or bad guys, and why?
You look like you have an answer, Brian.
Right, take it.
Wow, good guys or bad guys? I will say bad guys. Yeah, I will. I played way more of them, but they tend to be written sometimes a little more interesting. You know, there just seems to be a lot more going on. And I don't necessarily look at them as bad guys, like I did 300 and some episodes as Vegeta in Dragon Ball Z, and I never thought of him as a bad guy. He's just a little misinformed and underappreciated and arrogant, but not necessarily a bad guy, really. So, I don't know, I really enjoy playing a character that has, interesting dialogue, and it does tend to be the, quote, villains have great dialogue.
Man, I like both. I think when you play the straight character, though, like the very lead character, that can maybe be a bit harder with less electricity. I like the side character. I feel like Vinny from Littlest Pet Shop was like the side character. Yeah. Villain's fun, though. Villain, a lot of electricity with that one, that's right.
One of my first villains that I played was Gene Conn the Mandarin in Iron Man Armored Adventures. And that was super fun for me because, like Brian was saying, there's always some sort of hidden pain and hurt that's caused him to, the villain to become a villain in the first place.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes for a very just cause. He just doesn't go about it in the right way, So yeah, I enjoy playing villains a lot more than the straight dude.
Me too. Villains, they always have a strong objective. They always have a lot of drive and they're trying to get something. So that's always really fun to play as an actor. And it's something that's kind of new for me. I always grew up playing the ingenue. I was always the princess or the hero, and that's cool. But I had like a streak of villains lately, which has been really fun. They're just fun. It's kind of fun to be mean in like a safe environment where you get paid. That's the best. That is a giant Starlight plushie. Holy moly, that might be the biggest one I've ever seen. Wow.
Kelly, you're a giant Starlight.
Thanks.
All right. So we all know this is coming. We need each of you to demonstrate your most maniacal laugh.
It's time for a demo.
We're getting paid for this, right?
Yeah.
Kelly, start us off.
Me?
Kelly?
Oh my goodness.
I mean,
I can't. No, seriously, you guys. I couldn't probably. I know, Starlight never really laughed.
That's pretty good. All right, I'll go next here.
That's maniacal.
Is your villain on mood?
Yeah, I'm very scared of that guy.
go ahead.
No, you're next, brother.
You're next. You're in the middle.
No, you're in the damn middle. Go. You're next.
That'll be that's a smaller guy. Be a bigger guy.
Do the big guy. Brian is the king. I don't have a deep voice, so I can't do the deep guy. So I gotta do like a higher dude. I play this guy named Jestro in Nexo Nights, and that was a pretty fun one. And his laugh is sort of like.
Hello. Since we're all doing two, I'll do.
I just did one, man.
Oh, sorry.
Since we're all doing five, I guess I'll do five.
It was so good it sounded like two.
Oh, that's
That's kind of my go-to. And then there's always. That's someone who's gonna hurt you.
Laughing with villains, always laughing. What's so funny with villains?
Maybe they just have allergies and they're always trying to clear out some phlegm.
Maybe.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
That's why they're so mean. They just can't breathe.
So, what other villain performances do you take inspiration from? Or are there any that you just really, really like?
Other villain performances. I watch this guy a lot. I watch Brian. He's like sort of the king. We just did a session the other day and I was like, holy cow, how does this dude do this? Yeah, when he gets in this bass kind of resonance, it's something that I don't really have. I'm working on it, but it's quite remarkable, brother. It's amazing, yeah. And Brian also played Ryuk in Death Note, which is an awesome villain.
He's not a villain.
He's not really.
He's just watching.
He's watching. He's an observer,
watching.
but he has a good fun laugh too.
Yeah. Oh, there's a good laugh. Ryuk is nice.
Yes.
What was the question?
Inspiration.
Inspiration.
Other villains that you were inspired by.
I don't think so much about animated villains. I think more about movie villains. But I love villains that I don't know are villains. Who's the? And I'm terrible with names though. In Brad Pitt, Tarantino movie. There's a German.
Inglourious.
Oh, Michael J. Fox.
What's
Michael J.
his name?
Fox.
No, not Michael J. Fox.
Christoph Waltz.
Christoph Waltz.
Well, same. They look alike.
I can watch that guy forever just be terrible, and he scares me so much. He's probably the sweetest guy. But there's something about the quiet villain that they're so strong, but there's no deep voice, there's no laugh, but there's just evil coursing through their veins. Those are performances that I really enjoy watching. Some of my favorites anyhow, and that's one that I always think about as being a badass.
No Country for Old Men. Javier Bardem. Yeah, he's incredible in that.
Yeah.
Ursula.
Ursula.
Some
Yeah.
good Disney villains.
Great Disney villain.
Villains that kind of delight in being bad. It's just sort of delicious.
Scar.
Fun. Scar's fun. Yeah.
So have you ever used one of your voices outside the studio when you're doing something particularly sinister, like ripping the tags off of mattresses?
You're not supposed to rip those off. It says not to remove. You don't do that.
I do it. There's a villain voice. I do it.
You guys?
I was told not, when my kids were little, I do lots of different voices when I'm reading stories and stuff like that, but I don't remember it. My wife told me one where the kids, she said, they would tell me to steady stop, because I would make the scary voices for the bad characters, and they'd go, no, stop, don't. Like, I wasn't allowed to do the scary voices, because they were my favorites, so I'd be too villainous, and I'd have to tone it back. That's probably the only time outside of work when I use a villainous voice.
I used a voice, it wasn't particularly villainous, but when I was a kid, the family business was a music store. So we sold pianos and organs and guitars. And sometimes we had these long-term rental contracts, and occasionally there was someone who wouldn't pay or was way behind in their payments. And this was not really my introduction to voice acting, but my dad thought it would be a great idea if someone phoned that they didn't recognize. And this is, way before the days of caller ID or anything, so they didn't know who was calling. And he would get me to call in a British accent, and he'd say, ask for the person, he'd give me the paperwork, and I would call and it'd be like, Mrs. Thompson. Or actually, it was usually a Mr. Thompson. Not to be sexist, but guys don't pay their bills. And it was, usually, hello, is this Mr. Thompson? I believe you have a piano you haven't paid for. And I would just kind of act, as a bill collector. And it was quite effective because they brought all their bills up to date. So not really villainous, but a little scary, because I would intimate that I had his address. I might pay you a visit. Would it be easier if I picked up the check?
So what would you say is the most challenging aspect of voicing villains?
Screaming.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the physical.
Yeah.
strain.
The screaming, the yelling, they do tend to yell, and power-ups and all that kind of stuff. It's brutal on the throat if you have to do, an
It's not like you
extended
had
amount.
Did you do like over 9,000 times?
Yeah. 8,999 times.
Get it?
What? That's the worst for me, is when I know I've made a choice. I played, when they resurrected Inspector Gadget, I played Dr. Claw in Inspector Gadget for 50-some episodes when Maurice LaMarche took over the role of Inspector Gadget, and they recast Dr. Claw as well. And they said he was only going to be in a couple of episodes because they were going to introduce some new villains, but he ended up being in a pile of them. And I was like, I don't know if I can do this voice for like a lot of lines in the show, because it was really that kind of, and he started talking a bunch and yelling, and that's really hard when you make a vocal choice that's villainous. And the audition, there might not be a lot of screaming, and then you get the role, and they've written in all these fight scenes and screaming, and you shred your vocal cords at the end of the session. That, to me, is the toughest part with villains, is how hard it is on your voice.
I just did a video game last week, and they got me to die 40 different ways. And they saved that until the end.
Thank God.
But yeah, my voice.
Yeah, it's like they're doing you a favor.
How am I dying now? They're like, like, well, this you're gonna get hit in the side, and it's a slow death, but you have a big scream, and then you die the last breath.
Again.
You do all that. Let's do that 5 times. All right.
Now this way.
So this is where technique comes into things, and I tell this story all the time, and I hear it heard back to me in varying levels of percentages, and they're all wrong. It's called the 75% rule. I've heard it as low as 50, but that makes
So we.
I'll get to the story. I'll get to the story. So, with roles like that, which are everything everyone has said is absolutely true. I mean, that shreds your voice, and there's some directors that are just they're dumb. Like, do it again. Just do it again. Do it 4 more times. Do it again. No. But you don't want to refuse. That's the internal voice that I have saying no. So what you do is you regulate, just like in a car or a machine or anything that's finely tuned. You don't want to go 100% all the time, every time. You regulate it. So I came up with this 75% rule, which is you give 75% until you really have to give 80 or 85 or 90, but you use that very sparingly. It's like the nuclear option. Because otherwise, you shred your voice. You can't work tomorrow. We've seen guys, right?
I've been
Yeah.
Yeah, you've been that guy.
Yeah, he goes on.
I want to work tomorrow. So,
Yeah.
so that's, I'm really careful with that stuff. And sometimes, I mean, as with what Kyle was saying about video games, they are the worst because you're dying all the time and you're screaming all the time. So you do have to really be very, very careful when you're doing these villains or these action things to not ruin it, because you will not be able to work after that. So it came from a very pragmatic place, but the story has turned into, oh yeah, he sits there, smokes cigars, doesn't do anything. 75%, 50%. Yeah, you only work 50%.
So
I've
this
never
is
told this.
this is a question for Kelly and for Vincent. So is there any difference for when you're voicing a reformed villain?
As opposed to someone who's just good and hasn't gone through the villainous
So
journey.
playing like, Starlight when she was evil.
Oh, I see.
And then
Yeah, a big difference. Just difference in voice placement for that particular character. They wanted her to sound, I think, a bit older when she was a villain, and the direction I got was a cross between Dolores Umbridge and who's the drink the Kool-Aid guy, Jim Jones, the cult leader.
Oh,
Yeah,
Jim.
that was the reference. So,
Wow.
and there was
What
that
show-
kind of sickening, sweet, and sincere thing that she had. And then when she kind of went through her big reformation, I think they wanted her to sound a bit younger, a bit more natural. And I think of that as the real Starlight's voice. What it is now is kind of who she really is, and the other stuff is just this kind of facade that she put on. So I think Starlight's quite different vocally.
I gotta ask you, I missed the beginning of that. Who gave you the spec of Jim
That was on the
Jones?
sides, on the actual audition sides, the little script. It's when they do a little character breakdown of Starlight runs. She, is nice on the outside, but has a dark interior. Da 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 da. Think a cross between Dolores Umbridge and Jim Jones.
Wow.
That was Mitch. That was Mitch Larson. Duh. Surprise.
Thanks, Mitch.
Yeah.
Larson.
So I took it and ran with it.
Cool.
Vincent?
I'm wondering. I'm trying to think who was reformed for me. Who was it?
Yes.
You used to be.
Just like a general question. All right.
Maybe.
I don't know. I've yet to find out. We'll see what happens next.
All right. So if you guys were offered the choice between two similar roles that were an antagonist or a protagonist, which do you think you would choose?
Whoever's in more episodes.
Whoever gets paid more.
Whoever has the
Yeah.
most episode.
Whichever one's above scale.
Yeah.
Protagonist. I'm taking the protagonist. Dibs.
it's funny. It's like sometimes people are like, well, why did you choose this character? I'm like, I wish we had the choice to be like, I want to be Flash Sentry. I want to play Featherbangs. We audition. I mean, these guys are like VO legends, and Kelly, all these guys. I mean, Kyle and I feel like we're sort of like the newbies of this group, but like these guys have been doing cartoons since I was a kid, and we all still audition. So. If we had a choice, it'd be wonderful, but we audition for every part, and I feel like, I think I can speak for all of us, we're very grateful when we do get the call that we book something.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. I think a protagonist is usually a little more meaty character, you know, because heroes are heroes. You know, they always do the right thing, and they're
You mean the antagonist is more meaty?
yeah. Sorry, did I say?
You said protagonist.
I said protagonist. I didn't sleep well last night. I meant antagonist. I looked down and thought, why are they all looking so confused? But it's me that was confused. Anyway, no, I meant antagonist. They are a little more meaty, and there's usually a little something to grab onto, and even if they're not overtly creepy or mean or anything, you know, you're kind of driving the story and putting that knife in, like me to Tong.
Yeah, every session.
Yeah.
Every single session. It was actually kind of funny. I went to, I think it was the Fiesta Equestria, and I was shooting this Transporter TV show in Toronto where I had to be this Asian gangster, and they actually did have to have a knife. I put a knife, the director wanted the knife in the guy's nose, and I was like intimidating the dude, and I had tattoos all over my body, and then I went to a My Little Pony convention like the very next day, and I was like, this is so weird. Such a juxtaposition, but I really liked it.
All right, I think we're going to open up to a Q&A now. Right down there.
Skip to the front if you have a question, or not.
Oh, here they
Is that
come.
right?
Here comes the questions.
I just want A's, no Q's.
What comments, questions and comments. If there are any kids too, if we could maybe, I don't see too many kids here today, but if we could maybe let them go first, that'd be super.
So orderly.
There, we've got kids now. Here they come.
Here come the kids.
So you guys, did you have to practice a lot to really get your evil laugh to the best place?
Yeah, I did. I had to practice a lot. I really sucked at evil laugh. I don't know how people did it. I'm like, I ran out of breath trying to do the maniacal laugh. I was like, and then it really takes practice. I don't know. I guess for some people it comes naturally, but for me, I really have to work on it.
I actually
Spent
found
7
the
years.
hardest thing right at the beginning was laughing in character, regardless of evil or not. It was something that you learn. You really do have to learn how to do it. It's difficult.
Yeah, laughing's tough. Laughing authentically is tricky.
Are we ready?
Oh, we got little guys. Great.
Can you do the voices of the MLP villains?
Of your voices of your MLP villains?
Oh, our characters.
Me? Welcome to our little village. We're so happy you could join us.
Oh, hi.
No, that's great.
Yeah, I'm Dorax. Yeah, hi there.
So villainous.
Not very villainous. Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess, well, I believe there's Filthy Rich. She sounds like this, of course. Not completely a villain, just misguided.
Howie Zodel wasn't into many, but he had a bit of something like this. Daring to?
And if we're counting Silvershill as a villain,
You know, sometimes honesty isn't the best policy.
What is your favorite villain role you've played so far?
Oh, good.
Favorite villain role?
Well, I will say, of course, my favorite villain is Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z. Of course, Not the screaming so much, but everything he gets to do. Everything I got to say to this fool, Kakarot here. That's my favorite.
My favorite villain is on a show I did with Vince called Packages from Planet X. It was on Disney, and I played a guy named Terrence. He talked like this, and he was a real jerk. Always messing with him. Yeah,
This is true.
My favorite villain was a character named Scales on Ninjago.
And he sounded like this, very scaly, serious, and villainous man.
My favorite villain is Flash Sentry.
Yeah.
We gotta stop bumping into each other like this. Twilight, hey, do you need help with your books? Homework? Cooking? No? Alright. Thanks, man.
Hello.
Hello? It's you.
Is it you I was looking for?
Yes, it is.
So, I guess this is a question generally for all of you, but in particularly Kyle and Kelly. When you first auditioned for the roles or kind of found out you were getting this part, did you have any clue how involved it was going to be, that the character was going to grow so much and be back? Or is it like, ooh, I got one episode, like, yay? And I guess for all of you, like when you first started getting into Pony, like you realized how much it was going to be, so kind of that headspace of like, oh, now I have to develop this character more than just one episode.
Yeah, for me, I didn't know that the character was going to develop further, and I thought it was going to be one episode, maybe two. So every time I got a new script and read through, I was happy at the end of it. I'm like, oh, great, this character's having a big change. So yeah, we're really excited to see your character have, growth and not just be a one-off.
Yeah, I also had no idea Starlight was gonna be sticking around. I had an inkling at the end of season 5, but I didn't know to the extent that she'd be in so many episodes. So that's been a really nice surprise and challenging to make her kind of evolve and change, grow. Pretty cool.
I don't think any of us knew this show would stick around as long as it has, which is
because
great.
of you guys.
And because
that
of you
doesn't
guys
happen.
too. I was going to say, maybe I wouldn't have put 75% into one of my auditions. I would have. I was doing the show in first season, playing Mr. Cake, because I was doing an episode, and Peter New was playing a random character in that episode as well. And then Terry said, "Oh, we've got some one word for some character. Can you guys both just separately come in and read this one word? He's kind of a cowboy sort of dude, and we just need some one word. This is first season, and come in. You just got to come in and say, yup." I was like, oh. I'm like, okay, yeah. I said it a couple ways, and I thought it was just an incidental for the day. Peter does his thing, and he's yupped his way all the way through the last 3 years. Because he yupped me right out of that gate because I wasn't paying attention.
He gave 85% that.
I gave 85% that day.
Yeah,
I still did.
Yeah.
Should have done the 100. Should have done that. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is for Vincent. Who's your favorite superhero?
Who's my favorite? Say that again?
Superhero.
Well, I don't know if she counts. Yeah, I don't know. Have you guys seen Stranger Things?
Yeah.
I really like 11. I think she's like my favorite superhero because she is so bad. And it's just super fun to watch her in slow-mo when she's coming in with that intense look and her nose is bleeding and stuff's happening and people are floating and cars are floating and this is amazing. Sorry, you didn't see it yet? Just kidding, none of that happened. But yes, I think 11. But if I had to go classic, I think it would be Spider-Man. Yeah. Thanks.
Hi, I'm a young VA on YouTube, and I find that I lack confidence to get myself out there and audition for things. Do you have any tips to help me with that?
Well, I think coming out to here and coming up and asking that question is already the right direction. The more that you do that, that is the way to do it. The more that you pull back or shut yourself down, then I think that that's the wrong way. But doing what you're doing now, you're already, you know, going for it.
What's one of your favorite voices that you do?
So far, the only voice that I've done that's MLP related was Apple Bloom, but it's not a villain, but it's a start.
Is it hard to do, or you enjoy doing it?
I haven't voiced Apple Bloom in a while. The project was a long time ago, but I did kind of find some difficulty with the Western accent, but I find myself losing it sometimes. I just need to practice more, I suppose.
That's the key.
That's the key.
Practice, practice.
Practice, and there's so much available now compared to when people got started a long time ago.
Yep.
You can find online on YouTube some that didn't exist for us, the internet, which didn't exist for us. We started with. You have access to any voice, any accent, anything. You can find it online in a heartbeat. We'd get audition requests when Ian and I were doing this back in the late 80s, early 90s, and it'd say, like so-and-so from this show. I remember being, not having cable, and someone said, oh, it's a new role. He's kind of like Chandler from Friends. I'm like, who? What is he? I had to go to and try and find a reference if you don't have cable.
It's impossible.
It's impossible. Try and find a VCR tape of someone who's Chandler speaking, put it in, play it at home, listen back to it, rewind, fast forward. It was so hard. Now, you can copy and find anything you can, and that's a great thing to do, is copy stuff, like try and mimic things. Take ideas, mimic laughs, mimic accents, mimic voices, and then get out there and
wherever you live, get into an acting program, whether it's at school or community, because acting is the first step to doing voices. The funny voices and the weird voices come after you've got a good foundation in acting. So, as I said, it doesn't matter what town, city you live in, there's always going to be some kind of school production or something. So get yourself into that, and that will give you confidence. Like being in front of people, it'll probably be a hard step at first, but getting in front of people is the first step, and then you get behind the microphone.
Acting is number one, then you do the crazy voices next.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kelly, can you please yell quiet at Starlight at around like an 80%?
Sure, but I have to be interrupted for it to work, so can you assist me? Yeah.
Hi Kelly, can I start telling you about my—
Quiet! I never get tired of that.
I know.
Fun.
Before I get to my question, I have some drawings for Kelly, Vincent, and Kyle here.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah, you remember me, Vincent?
I totally do.
Yeah, New York City Pony Convention.
NYC, baby, baby!
Okay, now for my question for all five of you.
Yes.
What was your favorite villain quote? And it doesn't have to be in My Little Pony, it has to be in any villain you have played in all your careers.
Favorite villain quote, is that what it was?
Yes, that's right. Favorite villain quote.
Let me see.
Super cool.
I think I know one for myself. It might be one some people here know for a favorite villain quote. What was that quote again? It's like something about a power level. I'm looking at something. I'm seeing another character. My friend Napa's beside me. Says something about what his power level is. I gotta back off the mic a little bit. Over 9,000! That's my favorite quote.
My throat hurts just listening to that. I have sympathy pains. Woo. Famous quotes, man. Oh, Garble had a fun one in the last big episode with Ember, where he has to give hugs to people but not tell anybody. Oh. And he gave the Lord, what's the big dude's name?
Torch.
Yeah, gave him a hug. He's like, what are you doing? He's like, I can't tell you.
I'm trying to look one up.
Are you using the Google?
I'm trying, because I'm thinking,
Fall, you fools, into the depths of Mordor.
That wasn't even from My Little Pony.
Yeah.
Favorite quotes?
Favorite quotes.
I have a lot of favorites. My new favorite is, I really like kites.
I'm really feeling this, but it's funny. Kyle?
Favorite quote? Gosh, I can't think of any. Quotes. I don't have any quotes in my head, and my voice is going high.
The tricky thing is sometimes we record the episodes, so, I mean, it takes a long time for them to get animated and aired, so sometimes it's like, what did I do 2 years ago? What did I say?
Yeah.
You guys remember a lot more than we do.
I finally got one.
You got one? Ian's got one.
Yeah. Any of you Mega Man fans?
Mega Man.
I was the original Dr. Wily in Nintendo. Oh man, this is so old.
You're looking like Dr. Wily.
Captain in the Game Master.
Love that
And he says,
Big.
And now the world is mine.
Wow. Love that show.
I needed the Google for that one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Sean.
Okay, this one's for Kelly. When you voiced Snowfall Frost in A Heartwarming Tale, did you draw back on how you voiced Starlight back in season 5, or did you do something else? Because it was technically a different character.
Right. There was a little bit of Starlight in season 5, maybe not so much the sugary sweet thing, because Snowfall is pretty much just unabashedly grouchy right off the top. So, yeah, there's a bit of season 5 Starlight in there, and then there's a little bit of just something else. I don't know, just sort of, she's a lot more confident, I think, than Starlight in the show. That was a fun one. One of my favorite episodes.
All right, so this is for Vincent Tong. We were at the dancing panel back in NYC.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's right.
That was
Yeah.
awesome.
How's it going?
Oh my god, I started dancing a lot more.
Nice!
But anyway, so I wanted to ask, why are you always casted as the waifu stealers, and why are they always the best characters?
What was the last one?
Why are they always the best characters?
Why are they always the best characters? Thank you.
I'm doing it on Featherbanks tomorrow. So.
Are you doing Featherbanks? Oh,
Yes,
my
I am.
Oh, sweet.
Sugar Belle!
Yeah! The love is running hot like the cheese fondue.
Sugar Belle!
Yes, sweet. Why am I always cast as those bad characters? I have no idea. I'm so excited to audition, and especially when it's MLP, and then I got Flash, and I was super excited. I looked up online about Flash Sentry, because I was going to a convention. I just wanted to see how the fans reacted to him. It was not good. Not good. There was someone made a little picture of my face, Garble, Flash, Prince Blue Blood, and it read Vincent Tong, the voice of all the douchebags of MLP. I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't go to this convention. But no, I have fun. I really enjoy what I do, and I like to have fun. I like the fans having fun with the characters that I do too.
Yeah, no, he's like I have King Sarmaro at the top, and then Featherbangs, and then Flash Sentry. So,
Sweet.
You know, I love you. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
he's just
Good to see you.
acting. It's just a character. He's just acting.
Yeah, that's right, Corlett.
It's not real.
Yeah, I'm not really that mean.
No.
Right?
No, you're great.
Next.
Hi, I was wondering, what's your favorite, what's all of your, Be Prepared from The Lion King, or, all villainous songs. What's your favorite villain song?
Villain song.
Villain
Ooh,
songs.
nice.
Oh, there's so many.
Be prepared.
Be prepared.
Lion King?
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
What does
Oh,
he sing
unfortunate soul.
That's
Oh yeah.
Some really good songs. Oh, you know what? The really fun one. It's a kind of a crazy one. It's a Pocahontas. When the dude, the rat. Oh no! Now I'm thinking not Pocahontas. The Great Mouse Detective. The rat. Yeah. The rat again. To rat again. I don't know the words. But they actually the big cat. That's his little Yeah, she eats a mouse in that one. And they all like take off their hats and like, oh, they can't do that anymore. You can't eat a character in Disney cartoons anymore. You can? Okay, well then you can. Like that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I love you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, this question is for Kelly. When you were Barbie, you had someone else singing for you, another actress, but now you're Starlight Glimmer, you're singing your own song, so I'm wondering, how does that feel?
It feels awesome! I never really considered myself a singer. I still don't, really. And when I was cast as Starlight, I was actually flying home from a trip, and just before I got on my flight from Hong Kong to Vancouver, my agent sent me an email saying, oh, you got that My Little Pony gig. They're sending a script and your song materials, and you can learn it on the plane. And I went, song materials? I hadn't auditioned a song. So I was really nervous. And luckily it was like, you know, our town's not terribly complicated, but they've gotten more complicated since. So yeah, I've been taking singing classes and I feel a lot more confident about my singing, but I still don't consider myself a singer. So it feels really awesome to be able to say, yeah, I did sing those songs. It's pretty rad.
Yeah, you're awesome.
Thanks.
All right, this is for Kelly. I feel a little awkward since everyone's been asking song stuff. I don't know how involved you are with the fandom, but someone's actually done a video of Starlight singing Poor Unfortunate Soul, so it looks like you picked a pretty good inspiration.
Yeah, I guess so. I have not, have I seen that video? I don't think I've seen that video, but
It's on YouTube by Ashley H. Feel free to look it up sometime.
Say Goodbye to the Holidays is kind of Ursula-y, isn't it? When she's like throwing all the stuff into the cauldron, there's shadows of that, which is pretty cool.
And that was pretty much all I had, so yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Speaking of which.
Yeah?
Well, firstly, my name is Felicia, so that's how I knew the name of the cat from the Grey Mouse Detective. It's pronounced differently, but it's spelled the same.
Cool.
I also wanted to say to Brian and Ian, before I actually get to my real question, you guys were involved in Dragon Ball Z, and that played a humongous part in my personal life. And My Little Pony has also played a humongous part in my personal life. So I just wanted to say thank you to you guys both personally for being part of 2 shows that have changed my life for the better.
Oh, wow, thank you. Love hearing stuff like that.
Yeah. My question is for everybody. Do you guys prefer doing dubs or anime, or do you prefer doing Western animation where you kind of get to do your own thing and don't have to match mouth flaps?
Prelay. But we call it prelay, or like you said. I prefer it because I'm a bit of a people person. We get to work together with a lot of us a lot more often when we do prelay as a group. And as an actor, I get to feed off of how Vincent says a line, or how Ian does, or how Kyle, they deliver it, and I deliver mine. So we're all working together on a show. When you dub, you're all by yourself in a booth, and the director's on the other side, and you just do your part. So you never really get to interact with the other characters at all. You're just dubbing your lines.
And then technically you have to match those mouth flaps,
so
which is harder, and you don't get a...
And I'll jump in on that, because in the modern world of animation, the group read, I know it's still like the thing in Vancouver, but it's rare. I mean, it really is rare. So feeding off of each other is like the optimum, and doing it sort of like a radio play and really acting in that sense is the best. But often modern stuff, like every Disney feature, the actor is all by themselves. So, you know, it really means you really gotta act. Like you really gotta act, and you gotta have a really good voice director. But what I was gonna add to that is when you're doing dubbing, it is acting, but it's really technical. So it's like you must fit through, and you're not really acting, and it's turned into sort of something that everyone has become really accustomed to, an unusual way of speaking when you're seeing those things. So preference, I think everyone's going to agree, it's not dubbing, even though that's, cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we only have a couple minutes left, so we're just going to take one more question.
Sorry.
So, I'm a person who likes to do voices as a hobby as opposed to a profession. But oftentimes the voices I try to portray come off as really raspy and low-key, often sounding like the character I'm portraying is dying. But what would you recommend for someone who's trying to broaden their vocal range? Is there like some sort of vocal exercise I could do like daily to help train my vocal cords?
That's another thing that YouTube is fantastic for.
Yeah?
I'm terrible at that. Like
training?
Yeah, warming up. Like, I think there are actually.
Well, for vocal stuff, I think it would still be mimicry and trying to copy sounds, like listening back, copy sounds, listening back, and you might find out you want to work with someone who does, voice training if you're trying to learn to sing a little bit better or trying to train your voice a little bit better. But you just have to start to play around with what your voice can do, and it's weird and awkward and doing it in your car or doing it in your home studio or just doing it with your phone. I do silly stuff on my phone and play it back, and sometimes I think it sounds cool when I do it. I'm like, I'll hear something go, I found this new voice, and I'm like, I do it, and I play it back to myself like, that is terrible. I'm never doing that for anyone. Like, so,
you post it to any of your friends?
No, I do not. No, yeah. So.
Oh, another one from Brian.
Oh, here it goes. But practice.
Yeah, you can also build off of the character. If you can find a voice, then you can kind of build off of that too. I started doing a lot of dumb characters like Minnie, and then I built through out of this voice, and then found other versions and offshoots of that to try to expand, so it's not just the one voice.
Can I jump in? I feel really bad. Can we just do like 2 more lightning round questions? I know you got to draw the line somewhere, but I just noticed the 2 guys behind you just
super fast.
Super fast question.
Super fast lightning round.
Kyle and Vincent, where did you, or how did you form the voice of Featherbanks and Thorax?
Lightning fast.
For me, it was Justin Bieber.
Yo, what's up, baby? Just play it as douchey as you can. And I was like, yeah.
Hey, now, hold on. What happened to the guy in the overcoat? He was behind you. Did you get...
Kyle, what's your answer?
What?
What's your answer? How did you find Thorax?
How did I find... Oh, I was talking about this earlier. I was in Vernon at my mom's place, and we were on vacation. I got the audition, and I was in her quilt room with all these quilts around me, and I was trying to come up with this character. But it's basically just trying to think of this really shy...
so just really kind of shy versions of this guy. So I sent a number of takes kind of like this.
And that's how I came up with it.
It's the quilts.
Thank you.
Last question.
Fire away.
At the end of the season 6 premiere, why did this Thorax stop talking after he transformed into a form change?
At the end of season 6?
Yeah. When he transformed into the form
I know.
change, he stopped talking.
That is an excellent question to ask the writing staff. Because I didn't write that. Yeah, I don't know. I think they left it for suspense at the end of season 6.
All right.
Can I just ask mine? Okay, wait. 1 second, please.
For a photo.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm sorry. This is the thing. 1 second. I hate cameras. Okay, I just want Kelly to say her one line from the season 6 finale, which is my favorite episode of the show. Like the last line you said, like about the baking contest. This pony needs a cupcake. Can you please say that?
Who, me? About the baking contest?
Yeah, where's my paper?
What line is it?
Line? No,
Line, please.
I have the line. It's where's that baking contest? This pony needs a cupcake.
Oh, yeah. Now, where's that baking contest? This pony needs a cupcake.
There you go. That's the way to end the panel.
What a nice note to end on.
Thank you all for coming out to the Art of the Maniacal Lab. Can we hear it for our panelists again? Woo!
Thank you.
These ponies need a cupcake.
Sorry, guys, we couldn't get all your questions.